Good. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you very much for taking the time. And let's go through the meeting as quickly as possible for everyone's sake. Welcome to Rovik from the Rotary Club of Vancouver Mountain View, as he's indicated there. And I'd like to welcome Greg Muirhead in his absence as our new committee chair. And Greg is a past president of the Rotary Club of Tsawwassen and has a background in marketing, sales, and that sort of thing. So he comes from that perspective. And I hope everyone can move ahead with him under as I've been interim chair, but Greg will be officially taking over on July 1st. So with that, everyone okay with this agenda? If everyone's okay, let's we move ahead with the internal communication systems of Trello and Meetup. And I guess this is an opportunity, is there a need for any additional support? Is everything moving ahead as planned? And if you need additional support, what's that and how can we help out? And then are we on track for around this time next month to have some recommendations to the district about these systems? So would anyone like to jump in? We had the trials going, Dennison, on Trello. Is that moving ahead?
Yeah, just as a report. So we've tested it as well. Like we use it on the youth alumni committee, very specific as well. And we've also used it in our retention and extension. So it seems like it's pretty easy, streamlined, as long as everybody remembers. Those are a lot easier because what we do is not more or less meetings. They turn into more like, I don't know how you describe it, like work meetings. So not only are we keeping track of our tasks, we're actually doing the work at the meetings itself. So that also helps, like, hey, Rovik, can you pull up the page? Let's fill this out. Let's do it. Okay, this is a task. So it's a combination of both, but it's been working really well for youth alumni and for, what was it? The survey, which is the survey team underneath the exit surveys, the first year surveys, and also the entrance surveys, which is under Trello is being utilized right now in those specific teams. And yeah, it's working so far. So we're just trying to figure out the only challenge that we always remember is like just making sure individuals remember, whoever is leading the meeting, to just remember to pull it up and screen share it so they understand where they are in the flow of things as well. So
just on that point, Rovik, are you familiar with Trello? It's an online workspace, if that's the way to describe it. And then Meetup's an opportunity to bring people in from outside of Rotary as well as inside to join in events and so on.
Okay, I will. I'm not familiar, but good opportunity for me to learn about it.
I guess you'll catch up and yeah. So with that, any other comments from you, Dennis, or anyone else on Trello?
And, no, just a reminder, just to make sure they screen share, pull it up so they. It's more like whoever is leading the meeting is more like the project manager to make sure everything's on track.
So do you need any assistance or support or anything at this point?
Not at this point. It's just, like I said, just making sure we start the meetings and just have a reminder to pull up the Trello board so we know where we are and what are we up to.
Are we on track, do you think, for those recommendations this in 4 weeks?
Well, if we work together, yeah, sure. I don't see why we can't do the recommendations. It's not hard, like John said, to have a YouTube video. I think they already had John have YouTube videos that have like how to make a Trello board. It's not complicated. It's pretty simple. So yeah, and it's like I said, instead of it it helps a lot, especially if you're having more working meetings as well, just to keep on track of everything.
Okay, so in terms of, say, the recommendations and implementation would come after that for most clubs, of course, and committees. In making the recommendations in relation to the mainstream system as it is, not sort of working in conjunction with rather than competing with Club Runner. Would that all work out in terms of the recommendations?
Yeah, is it just me?
Yeah,
For my
just
recommendations,
yeah.
it's not in conflict with Club Runner because Club Runner doesn't have a CRM like a simple CRM that just keeps track of your workflow. That's kind of like a challenge with Club Runner. It's not like a Monday.com or Microsoft Teams where they have that natural flow to kind of keep track of what you're up to.
Yeah. So I'm just anticipating that the recommendations are drafted in such a way as that so it addresses that, because a lot of people in the system will be kind of thinking along those lines. So if we can cover that off, among other things. So that's great.
I don't think that's even a concern. Club Runner's not in any contention to do what Trello does. I mean, sorry to be blunt, but Club Runner is a very outdated platform.
Yeah.
I don't think any club should be using it aside from maybe sharing a file here and there. But then people email anyways and use WhatsApp to drop things off anyways. In my honest opinion, I don't think anyone would be using Club Runner other than maybe just for the website.
Sure.
So no team kind of interaction things would be ever possible on Club Runner. I'm
just thinking of people using, if they do use Club Runner, it's a system they've had to get used to. And I think of the demographics of Rotary as it is right now, rather than what it should be, that this is a system, a new system's coming along. So it's a question of keeping all that in mind as we move ahead. So progressive people like all of you here, it's not a problem, but I'm just anticipating challenges and how to help guide people through to this, so they don't feel it's
no, Peter, that doesn't even exist on Club Runner. That's what I'm trying to get at.
I know,
but it's not a matter of getting used to Trello. Like all those functions don't even exist on Club Runner.
No, quite right. But it's another system for people club leaders now. They're getting bombarded with learning from all over the place now. It's a new system. So I'm just saying in putting the recommendations together to keep all that in mind, that we're not
well, I think all you have to do is just say this is a good replacement for emailing back and forth a million times, or using something like a public Dropbox or a Google Drive kind of a thing. Now this is all kind of a one place, right? Club Runner is not even worth mentioning. That's how bad it is.
Yeah, but that's the reality, though. Robert, you?
Maybe one of the things that we need to either be prepared to do or prepared to recommend is that in addition to offering these platforms, maybe we should construct or have a group construct a tutorial or offer to do seminars. In other words, do something proactive to promote what we're doing and explain how it works.
Sure.
In other words, get people involved who might be interested, and then we're in a position to tout who is using it and actually physically help them through the process, rather than just say, here it is.
Right. Great. So that would be part of the recommendations. Nick?
So I can give some insight into the demographic that we'll be promoting to. So this one question came up, I think it was a couple of days ago, but we have one member in our club that said she couldn't find a link on the navigation panel of our website. I was like, okay, that's a little weird because I see it right here. I sent a screenshot. Here's the picture of the website. This is where you go, that type of thing. She's like, I can't see it, can't scroll down. And sometimes like when you zoom in on a browser, it hides certain parts of a website.
Oh, right.
It took about 3 emails to get through that part of it. So I think kind of the biggest challenge moving forward, and I'm kind of seeing this with Meetup too, is like basically, we can write a page out, but I think I do agree like with Robert that we kind of need like a tutorial, a video based one to make it like a little bit easier. And I get what John's saying, because like some people are like territorial about Club Runner. It's really funny because he's totally right that Club Runner doesn't do, and realistically is so horribly outdated, but they're kind of like tunnel vision to it. So I think, the expectations and all that mean like this is, because realistically the problem is we're all inundated with emails, right? So if we can reduce that, like I think that's really like the key thing to drive home. Say, we all get too many emails. Some people get confused on where their login is to get to Club Runner and all this stuff. This is a different thing you can use, or the new thing that you can use. And here you go. And I think if we have some video-based content to show them, I think that probably would work quite well. Yeah, anyways, that was just my 2 cents.
Oh, good, thanks.
To add on to that, I think the stuff is already out there on YouTube. We don't have to make it from scratch. Now, if you want to slap the whole Rotary thing behind it, yes, you can. But honest to you, I think if you just go on YouTube, you look up Trello tutorial, I'm sure there's like many like short ones, long ones that we can easily send people to. Again, Peter, but if you want to put a whole Rotary thing around that, then obviously we have to make it ourselves.
No, as long as it works.
Okay, yeah, I think this content should be out there. I think all you have to do is kind of package like a little blurb, a little paragraph explaining, this is coming from district, this is a rationale behind it, and then just pop them the link and send them over to YouTube.
Great. So we can try and pull all that together. I'll help out where I can to get these recommendations pulled together, and if we can meet in a month's time just to finalize that and get the recommendations out, that would be grand if that works for everyone. Everyone okay with that? Okay. And
Since I mentioned it, sorry, Peter, why don't I take on the task of digging through YouTube and finding, like a potential good and short, sweet one that kind of runs through what we need to get our message out across, and I'll pass it on to you, Peter.
That'd be great. Thanks, John. And then Dennis, and you'll have the outcomes of the trials to kind of stream in.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Anything else on that? And then, okay, then there's Meetup. Do you think Meetup, given the nature of what it's there for, is it an internal communication thing to avoid a lot of email and back and forth on our events that we're working on together, or is it more focused on non-Rotarians, if you like, bring them into events, in which cases it's more externally focused? What do you think, Nick?
Yeah, so like I would put Meetup as an opportunity for clubs to interconnect with meetings or connect internally. There is obviously the option of external individuals finding Rotary, which again isn't a bad thing because you want to be found. For me, it's like, okay, I put up 2 events. I think I put up our Canada Day and a shredded event, just as examples on the District 5040 Meetup. And Dannison, forwarded me a couple of people. I touched base with them. I followed up with them, and they're kind of like, okay, cool. Like when we're ready to post an event, we'll post an event. I can't really force them to post an event. So I kind of feel like it's the same thing with what we're talking with John about the videos and all that too. But as far as communication goes, I feel like it's a way for District 5040 to internally promote their own events to each of their clubs, and it's like one spot to have it. But at the same point, they could use it as a generation tool for either volunteers or potential new members. So I think it's kind of a combo. That would be the best way to explain it.
Yeah, let's start off here because it was trying to streamline, let's say, the process of connecting as Trello does. And so with the same spirit, then Meetup, and then it has external payoff or spin-off value. So with that, so would this be also ready for recommendation in a month's time? So the two go together.
Well, we can have recommendation, but we've yet to have an individual or a club that's posted an event other than myself. So I'm gonna follow up with another club too on the North Shore and see if I can get another one. But I also think it's like how we package it, because it could be seen as maybe intimidating to some people, I guess. So I think that that's like a hurdle, because it is a new technology and people, with new technology might shy away, right? So yeah, but it is also January 25th, right? So
Yeah, so it's the same approach, though, as John says, we can get a video and that's out there and keep it easy, simple, and offer that out to people.
So for meetup, I don't think there is a video that is short and sweet and condenses everything, because meetup, there's a lot more to it. I think that's why Nick and I wrote up the kind of the document. It was like a 6-pager or whatnot. I don't know how Nick, how finished it is, how polished it is, but that one should be the one that gets passed around instead of a video, because there's many ways to use and not use it. And then also Meetup, unfortunately the website changes the interface from time to time. There's also like the app version, the app interface versus the website, the browser interface, that kind of gets switched around at times. And I think what Nick wrote up is the best way for people to immediately understand the value of it and how to pick it up. And then kind of you have to kind of try it and use as you go, though, with Meetup. It's not as straightforward as a Trello thing. And Trello is an internal thing too, right? You can screw up internally and whatever, right? That's okay. But Meetup, it's a public facing thing. You hit the launch event, it's out live. Right. And that, if you make yourself look bad with whatever you type up, that's going to reflect upon our whole District 5040 image as well, because they are using our group's account to publish that. So that's why I don't think a video would do it as easy as Trello. I think, you have to kind of maybe get Nick or myself to kind of talk them through a little bit too, as they're setting up the whole thing.
Well, again, if the recommendations can capture that, you've already got the background information. It's there to make the recommendations and work out a system that we can roll it out. Whatever you think is the most effective way of doing it. Again, appreciating the demographics of Rotary. They've got a good mix of ages and experience, etc. So if you're okay with that, again, if I can help out in some way, but I feel like a rather a Luddite compared to you guys. So
if we could get a group to use it successfully, and it sounds like Nick is working with someone, perhaps we could come up with a cheerful kind of case history, but an article that could be circulated throughout the district. And what makes this different from the others, first of all, the business of the public facing is important, but the fact that a couple of people here are willing to act as coaches for people who are interested. So if we had a case history of people using it successfully and then offering help for people who want to get started with it, it probably would become a successful part of the district's culture.
Oh, great, thanks. Dennison?
Yeah, I think Nick's are like kind of been helping already. Like I believe he's helping with I can't remember. I think it was Aaron,
Aaron and
Ryan, right?
Jocelyn. Yeah, but Robert, I don't think I heard back from, but then Jocelyn I did, and Elham and Aaron. So I've heard back from 3.
Yeah, well, Elham and Jocelyn are both from Regal. Aaron is youth alumni, and maybe Ryan hasn't got back to you from Burnaby, Rotary Club of Burnaby.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, like the only other thing that maybe I'd suggest too, like what would be kind of cool as well, is to do like an like Rotary, like a District 5040, like webinar or something like that, or whatever, which you could totally do on it, and it'd be super quick. Like creating a meetup isn't that hard, as well as they could know that we're here to support, or other people can support. But like getting kind of the other communications individuals informed about it, I think is a really good first step. And you've got the what John says, like what's on paper, I think is solid. It covers pretty much every base, but I think, getting out there saying this is something new that you can use, because like say, you got a Rotary Club way up north and they do hybrid meetings, right? I may not necessarily know, and that might not necessarily be posted in Trello, but it would be posted on Meetup. And then I know that I could join via Zoom link. And it's all there, and I can go and attend a meeting, in Port St. John's if I wanted to, right? And I think that's a really good way of interconnecting different clubs and giving them the opportunity, because we've already had one new member and one lead, and we've done very minimal work.
Peter, what's the cost of Meetup again? Like the yearly subscription?
Oh, Nick, didn't we pay an annual fee?
So because we did before, because we didn't have an account there, but I already have a group that I run on Meetup. Meetup allows you to have 3 under one membership. So we pay nothing for Meetup. It's free.
Oh, well, great. Thank you.
Whatever we gain off of Meetup and get any new membership, the investment is exponential based on the. Okay, well then, how do we use it to its
free
to get the most out of it?
but it rests on Nick's shoulders and his responsibilities to continue paying and doing his thing. I don't know from a district point of view whether they want to kind of actually assume control over that. Because like say, hey, what if just Nick for whatever reason got busy and now we don't have access to the admin setting and the ownership setting. I just wanted to kind of let you know it's free because Nick is supporting us at the moment, but I don't know if that's a long-term thing.
Yeah, so I can actually shed light on that because Peter's now the co-organizer. So say like I go derelict and I get hit by a bus, but granted I probably won't, but it's it's funny because people always ask me, they're like, what happens if you get hit by a bus? I actually hit a deer when I was biking in the demo forest, and I like on a road bike, and believe me, I still walked up and got away somehow. I don't know why, but my wife always says, oh, you're telling that story again.
I'm worried for the deer.
She's tired of it. Well, that deer is definitely not getting, it didn't get up. It went down pretty hard, but yeah. So like, say if I go derelict, you don't hear from me or whatever, the subscription goes to the next hierarchy member. So this is how I gained access to it. Like basically payments, gone or whatever. And then Peter's asked if he wants to take ownership of the group. So you'll always have, because the group stays independent of everybody. It's just like as the organizer, it's under my subscription until I don't pay my subscription. Right. And I'm totally happy because I run another networking group, they pay for our admin fees, cover Meetup. So it's not like, it's kind of a gray area because it's like, I get three groups and they already pay for one. So as long as I'm the package is through me or the payments through me, then it's free. And I can't really, like, it's not right for me to charge a group when it's free.
Do you remember what the annual fee is though? Or just out of interest?
I think it's like 120 US, 130 US.
I
there
think
are
it's
different
more,
levels.
It's more than that, Nick, if you're over 50 members in the
but
join,
it's different for
easy.
Not for profit. So they I think they have different rates too. Because I only pay, I think on the other group, maybe 80 US every 6 months.
Would us as a Rotary district be eligible for the nonprofit? Like they might ask for like a charity number of some sort.
They would, but you don't pay anything right now.
Yeah. So the district does have doesn't have a charity number, John, but it is a society to collect. Everything.
Which should probably work, but there's different levels, and I think we might try it in the other group, go up to like the pro level, because then you have more functions and stuff. But we'll see. Like as I said, it's free. I'm happy to share it with Rotary. No skin off my back. Other networking group pays for it.
Well, thanks a lot.
They're cool with paying with. Hey, no worries. So, but otherwise, yeah, it's free. So you can utilize it in whatever way. I would highly recommend it because we've had success with Rotary Club Lionsgate with it. And I think it's really underutilized. So I think if we launch and do a webinar and kind of say, hey, this is what we recommend, like clubs can, because memberships can be huge this year because of everything that's going to go down. But yeah, so.
Sure. Great. Okay. So aiming to get those recommendations out to develop them over the next few weeks and meet this time next month, if possible, and finalize those. That would be grand. Thank you. So next item is something I distributed only as I was working on a backgrounder, if you like, and work towards a public relations some report and recommendations, and hope to have those in time for next meeting. But I wanted to get it on the radar screen of this committee and see if you had any initial reaction. As you can see, I did a tour around, if you like, all the clubs and its different forms on the website and Facebook and Twitter, and seeing what people are doing in media relations. And so if you had a chance to look at that, the report on the various clubs and their level of activity or non-activity. There may be other systems, and you guys are involved in the digital world and perhaps can think of other ways that clubs are communicating in terms of public relations. But it's, I think part of it's suffering. I did this in 2017 when I was chairing this committee before, and you'll see the numbers that are compared to today. And some of the communications may have dropped off because of during the pandemic, although that might have been reason to actually crank them up more than drop off. But so with that, I've started, drafting some recommendations, and without going into too much detail here, if you've got any comments on the recommendations, if you think something's out of whack or you think something's missing, I would appreciate hearing from you now or after this meeting. But any initial reactions, comments to kind of the research work there for all the clubs? Okay, well, I'll continue working on that if anyone wants to join me in that, but we all have your plate full with the other work, so I wouldn't want to be leaning on you. I could draw in some other people and say Elaine to have something in more detail, more recommendations, really about, there's a background. I've been doing this, as Dannison knows, with the DEI committee, doing some working with Dannison and others on a background document, if you like. And then out of that, we worked at, okay, now, if that's the background, what are we going to do to advise clubs and guidelines about how to move forward on these things? So, excuse me, often that's the bigger challenge, as to what's realistic to expect clubs to do, and especially if you're a smaller club. So anyway, I'm pecking away at that, and I'll have something to you for next meeting. And Dannison?
Yeah, I was gonna ask, some, like, all clubs are like pretty different from the way that they operate internally. Just from my observation on their online tools, some of them use the Club Runner, some of them, well, they do use Club Runner, but they do have other tools. So I was just kind of wondering, are we thinking of implementing this for other clubs for more efficiency, and then just trying to figure out like how to implement it, like like, is it just gonna be a training session for that club's like PRPI individual, or is it more gonna be like for the meetup, for example, that portion, or is it gonna be more like with the internal communication? Because there's a couple of aspects, like some of it sounds like change management internally, and then some of it sounds like training for implementation for both ends. So I just want a little bit of clarity once we have the recommendations and they say, hey, great recommendations, now how do we implement?
Well, I guess that to the point is that's what are we going to recommend to the clubs? As I've indicated in the latter part of, in an ideal world, in an organization, the strategic plan for communication is really built on the strategic plan for the organization, and each goal of the organization then is a communication goal, and you build an action plan based on that for communication to address your target audience and stakeholders. that is really a tall order to expect a club to get involved in. So how can simplify all that to still get the same thing across, that you need to have a plan, and rather than just go open-ended and keep sending stuff out. So your point's well taken, Dennis. And so how, that's the thing, is to try and get that down, and if possible, answer that question by this time next month with recommendations and how we can move ahead in phases, and what are the options clubs can consider is how they communicate. But right now there's so many websites you come to and they're just dead. Some of them are 2 or 3 years old, and it just, you might as well not have one. I mean, club runner sets up the expectation you got to have a website for your club. Some people are just using Facebook, which is okay, but if you or not, as Robert's wincing there, but but anyway, or at least you have something. But if you have something over here as well, and it's dead, you know, you're straight away, people looking for you just say, well, what's the point? I'm not going to bother. So if you're going to have something, it's got to be current, and otherwise you're shooting yourself in the foot. So how to get that down. So I'll be working on that part of it, and would appreciate your comments. Thanks, Janison, and others as we move ahead on this. It's going to be a bit of a tall order. So any other comments on that? Sorry.
Peter, just to be clear, did you want myself and John and Nick, I guess Robert as well, to like come up with recommendations for Trello for, I guess, on my end, and then John and Nick and Robert recommendations for the meetup page, like how should we use it, and do we need to come up with a implementation as well, or just strictly just the recommendations?
Well, I think we should have implementation plans as much as possible with recommendations. If they're not quite ready, at least we can get the recommendations out there and give us sort of an overview of how it might be implemented. You know, how long that would take, and that sort of thing. So whatever you can achieve by, you know, the end of next month, that would be great, huge step forward. So as I say, and I'll be working on this public relations stuff, get it out. But I wanted to just at least get this into the committee and you know, in the works here. So if there's any recommendations you can make as we go along with the public relations stream, it'd be greatly appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
Robert?
Maybe not for next month, but maybe for the committee. It seems to me that the elephant in the room is Club Runner. And what I'm hearing is, for a lot of organizations, a lot of clubs, it's not working. And maybe this committee needs to say, maybe Club Runner is a problem. And is it the elephant in the room that we can continue to ignore, or is it something that we really should put on our agenda for the coming months?
So I guess looking at the elephant, is the elephant the communication side, or the elephant the administration side, or both?
Yeah.
And I guess we're not here to address strictly the administration side, but that might still be effective, but communication side maybe not.
Like John and Nick know this as well. Like in an ideal world, like maybe like it would be better just to have like a Microsoft Teams like ecosystem or something like that, where everything's in one spot kind of thing, and that's it.
There's DAC-DB, do you know that system?
Yes.
American clubs are using that, seem to be happy with that, but maybe it's just the impression I have. But, so I'm working on, and Peter Clark is on a district, the 10 districts that put pets together in Seattle, Northern California, Nevada, Idaho, etc., Washington, Oregon, and Alaska, and our district, and district 50, which is Vancouver Island, and so on. Anyway, we all talk about these things, and so a good number of them are using DACDB. But whether that's in the end any better or not, I have no idea.
DACDB gives you a number of options, and only one of the options is to use their developed websites. What they are basically is a database. So we have our own website, which is WordPress based, and we got the theme from the Bellevue site in Washington, who designed it as a Rotary site, but I found it a far more interesting site than anything that DACDB had or Club Runner. But having our own site gives us an enormous amount of flexibility. Last year, when we're in the middle of COVID, and one of our members said, well, could we sell something through the website? And he had access to fresh frozen fish. Well, they said, can we set up a shop? And the answer is yes. I set it up as a subdomain. It's not active at the moment, but it's there. Anytime somebody has something to sell, we've used it twice now, and it raised a fair amount of money, and it was a pretty good gimmick. I couldn't do that with Club Runner. With our own site, we can do anything. Now we use DACDB for its membership management and connection with Rotary International, all of that kind of stuff.
So the admin side.
And there's a module that we don't use either. We're a small club, and our treasurer is quite happy managing our accounts on spreadsheets on a computer. But they have a full accounting module as well. So these things are broken down. So we use a piece of DACDB, but we don't use their accounting system, and we don't use their website.
So to the point then, how do we step back, and what's our role here? Do we make a recommendation? It could be something straightforward like consider the use of Club Runner and set up a separate team or sort of a separate task, if you like, to explore the options here.
I think we need to do that, Peter, because if there are clubs that are not using it, God help us, if they're using Facebook and adding value to Facebook, that's hardly what Rotary should be doing. I think we need to understand why they're not using Club Runner, and what they would be able to do, or what they might be able to achieve if they had an alternative, rather than saying, can we offer another alternative? I think we need to know what the problem is, first of all.
Oh, good point. All right, well, that's
Yeah. I think because like Robert and what Nick and John understand as well, since we use so many different like tools and different ecosystems, like at the chamber we use Growth Zone. I personally use Microsoft Teams. So we just see what's out there that we're expecting. And when we come here, it's like we don't get what we expect. So it's hard to accept, obviously, because we're so used to a certain kind of ecosystem already.
so maybe we could try and have something to discuss in a month's time. If that's not quite ready, maybe we could push that back by a month.
I think going back to what Robert said about if there's like a good case study or a good example we can show, that should convince people to take some attention as to like what we're proposing to them. So I think, yeah, just write up something, maybe like for meetup purposes. I think, Nick, if there's something on it already, I forget, it's been a while, right? If not, you can add it to the document, say how this club or North the North Van Club has used it for their event, right? So that like when you haven't shown an example, like cooking, right? You show the finished product, how good it could look like, right? Then sure, then you can go back and walk them through, okay, this is how you make it, this is the recipe and all that stuff, right? Just like a cooking show, right? And then for Trello purposes, a few maybe screenshots of how things could be organized, and people see it and they go, oh, okay. So then it's not like we're in their face and try to shove something they don't think they want down the throat, right? And then kind of see what the response is, right? If they don't like it, they want to stick to Facebook only, then I think whoever said it is to go and ask them why you're using Facebook only. Then it'll be a case by case thing with the individual clubs.
Yeah,
So
that's probably-
another, sorry,
Sorry.
no, Peter, I interrupted
Go ahead,
you.
Mike. Yeah, no, go ahead.
I was just going to say, just to add to that, you know, I think also another approach might be just to explain the differences, right? And be like, okay, this is what, you know, Club Runner does, which is really not that much, but you know, this is what and how you can use these tools to help promote your club, to increase membership, to do that. You can show the differences and like what the added value of using like Trello or Meetup can do for the club, right? You know, Club Runner itself, there's not really much to talk about. Kind of like, you know, end of life type product.
Yeah.
So, you know, realistically, it's basically saying, okay, well, you know, we're choosing Trello or Meetup because this is the, you know, what it can bring to the table. You know, it can help you reach more people. It can help you to intercommunicate so you don't have as many emails because, you know, emails are everywhere right now. Like it's just too much, right? It's somewhere where I can go that's a repository, right? How do I check it out? How do I do this? Really just explain, you know, more about what it does. And I think people will be open to that. Because I know like talking with some clubs that do a lot, like West Vancouver Sunrise, Club Runner only. Good luck.
Yeah.
I've been there. It was like Club Runner only.
They're clinging to the wreckage. They're kind of,
Wouldn't even try. Wouldn't even try. I tried pretty good.
yeah. Is Ardith in your club?
In my club?
Yeah.
I know, but she's in the area. Like I know Ardith, so yeah.
Oh.
Everybody wanted Club Runner. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Like why?
What next step could be, is a very good point. Thank you, Robert, to find out from now they've done this little kind of initial research about how clubs are using their public relations, call it, and then go to the clubs and find out more. So I'll kind of, maybe that might be a next step in this process. Find out why you're not using it, what your concerns are, that sort of thing. So I'll take that on.
I think, Peter, absolutely, like that research is very important. Like what Robert's saying, like every club I've ran into is not pleased with Club Runner. And then every other aspect I've run into was that actually detracts from attracting new members to come in if they see our infrastructure and they're like, at work I use this. Why are you working on like using this as your tool? Like it also scares away members because they understand like that's not what we use now. Why are you using something that is not being used now? So that's a huge detractor also from any member coming in and they start seeing the ecosystem and they're expecting one thing, but then they get another. They're like, oh, okay, well, you have great innovative tools that you use. You have an innovative stack of tools that you use in together, rather than like what Robert was saying. It's like it's hard to use that, but obviously I think after the research it'll be a lot easier to come up with recommendations after research on the Club Runner portion. I think there's a deal that's the only reason why we keep it, but at the end of the day we know that it also is a detractor from membership because it kind of scares people.
It's a big hole in the boat if we're saving money, but we're not.
Yeah,
we're losing it.
We could always, if it costs more, we could always make up it by bringing in more members because it's like, oh, you're using a Microsoft Teams. Okay, I get why you're spending the money. I understand.
Sure. So I'll draft something up and I'll pass it by you guys for your comments, and I can get going on that as part of working towards next month's meeting. But anything else on that? If not, then the two final things with apologies, John, I spelt your name incorrectly, CHEN instead of CHAN. Sorry, I worked with a guy, John Chen, in the past, and I was just automatic. Anyway, I'll fix that. So the two items in the package are sent. One is an update, sort of midterm update, if you like, on the Public Image Committee. And then the second item is looking forward, just trying to get something on the screen for next year. So coming up on February, I think it's 11 and 12 weekend is part of that's the district strategic planning session. So this is what's feeding into this. So I just wanted to see if everyone's okay with this. Anything out of order, anything you'd recommend that we change in this report? Or both of them? There's nothing's carved in stone, but so we've been making, certainly been making progress. Okay. But this is
And-
no,
The report and the recommendations, is there a specific format that you want all of us to work? Like, I'll have my Trello one, but is it like one pager with, 3 lines of recommendations? Like, I'm not sure what you want. Like, I'm just trying to visualize what you want so I could give it to you.
oh, okay. You might have a much better model than I have. The recommendation, I can send you what I used initially for the member communication, I think it was. It's just a model, but if you have something else to offer up, please respond with that. As long as it works, everyone's happy with it. So,
Yeah.
okay. Well, thank you all very much for taking the time, and really appreciate it, and look forward to roughly at this time next month. Everyone okay generally to meet?
Where will the recording be made available?
Well, I'll send a link. I'll
Okay.
post and send a link. It's Greg will have to.
Where is it, Peter? Next month, like what
Okay.
20
What's the equivalent of this time next month?
the equivalent of this next month, I think, is the 22nd, but we have DEI.
Be the 1st of March after that.
Yeah, then it turns 1st of March because it's a short month, Peter. So that's why.
Would the 1st of March be okay?
Sure. What time would be 5 to 6? Okay. All right.
Check on my own calendar.
PI. Okay. No problem. 5 to 6.
Yeah. Okay, everyone okay?
Peter,
Mark?
yeah, Peter, first I'd like to thank you all for having me, because this is my first time to attend, and this is just like an orientation meeting for me. I just have just one question.
Sure.
Do we give out citations or awards, recognitions to club, best club public image awards or publications or websites or something like that?
The district has annual awards that are presented at the district conference. In this case, it'll be late April in Vancouver, as you know, downtown Vancouver. So there's an awards committee, and there had been, there should still be some sort of public image award, if you like. Sometimes it's been broken down into not just public image, but say website and digital communication. So it depends what the committee is doing, but there is that system. And I can put you in touch with the people who are organizing that if you'd like, but
Yeah.
you can find it.
I think last year, Young Professionals won that marketing award or something like that in the district.
Yeah.
Because I remember Julia accepting it when we were in Prince George last year.
Yeah. So there is that one award at least.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's up to you, Peter. Do you want more awards for marketing?
Yeah.
Well, I always get the same thing for membership. It's like, oh, what criteria of awards do you want to make? And I was like, there's the general ones, but if you want to create new ones, then yeah.
Okay.
Give an
Alright.
award to the club that uses Meetup.
Yeah, that's right. Different categories.
Yeah, there you
also
go.
to encourage them. Yeah, meet up, whatever.
The digital media awards. All right.
I do have a thing I want to put. That's the link to the Trello board that I think 3-4 months back I started up as kind of like a test place, so that all of us can hop on and do our own little thing from there. Nothing has really moved along, but that's okay. I think for Rovik, maybe a good chance for you to try out Trello and sign up, all of that. And yeah, I see Dennison just popped in, and if we can have Nick on there as well. Just kind of, yeah, if we do use it, okay. If we don't, that's okay as well. But I think
Well, that's great.
eventually, when we have more people joining this community too, it's good to have a place to see how we're progressing. So yeah, Rovik, you should definitely get on that. It's in the chat box right now.
Thanks, John.
Oh no, should have done.
Okay. Thank you very much. And get some notes and the recording out if you want to check in on that after the fact. So cheers, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.